Now tune in to another episode, 10 Toes Down in the building.
10 toes down.
What's good, guys?
10 toes down. What's good?
How's everybody doing?
Yo, we got a special guest that's going to be rocking out with us, man. Bert G, what's good, bro?
What's good? Thank you for having me. Very humbled and honored to be here.
Nah, it's all good, man. We got a lot going on, man. We going to get into the things you got going on, man. But we going to take you around the world, man. Let's get into these topics.
Yeah, let me take the glasses off. I'm not trying to be Hollywood.
Nah. It's all good. Be Hollywood. This the yeah. That's right. This the place to do that at. That's right.
We're going to own that. We're going to stand on that.
Facts. You got your 10 toes down, man.
10 toes.
Let your nuts hang. That's right.
Jeez.
Right.
Let's get
You
it.
need your thinking hat on.
So now, man, we gonna get into some hip hop shit. LL Cool J, he recently did Shannon Sharp's podcast, and one of the questions that was asked was the Mount Rushmore of Def Jam, and there was some hit back because he didn't have Jay-Z on there, he didn't have DMX on there, he didn't have Kanye West and a couple other people. Who he had on there was the Beastie Boys,
That's a good one.
Public Enemy, himself, and somebody else that's not coming to my head at the moment. Now, Shaka feels like he hit the ball out the park. He was right on the money. My personal opinion is you cannot talk about Def Jam without talking about DMX and Jay-Z.
And who said so? And we're first of all, we got to figure out, like, what is the criteria? Like, in order to make this list, what is the criteria? Maybe everyone else, I don't know what his criteria was, but is it based off of the amount of albums someone made? Is it based off of someone bringing notoriety to Def Jam more than others? Like, what is the criteria in order to make this Mount Rushmore list that no one seems to be agreeing with, or very little amount of people seem to be in agreement?
All right. Well, one thing that I say is you got to at least have made 3 full studio albums. Anything less than that, you don't meet the criteria, because that means you don't have a body of work.
All right, I agree.
You know what I mean?
That's facts.
Mm-hmm.
How many songs do someone have in a album?
10 to 12 albums, just
So
on
why-
a minimum.
Tracks.
Okay, so why 2? Why 3? 2, I think, is still
No,
good enough, because that's like 20 songs.
Because an album typically comes out yearly, right? So you have a full calendar year to promote, let's say, the best 4 songs on that album. The best 4 songs on that album is, if they're good enough, will sell the whole album. You know,
was an A&R
with
before.
oh yeah, I was.
Oh, okay.
With a campaign,
Speak on it.
with a proper campaign, marketing, and things of that nature. Now you know you gotta have a visual in there. That's a given. You know, and now with the social media added into it, it creates a more personable dynamic. You know, because now you get to see a person in their personal life if they choose to do so. You know, you can stay connected with the people who rock with you. This is a way to keep your fans engaged with what you got going on,
And
even if it's in
informed.
between projects, even if it's during the project. These are different marketing tools that people have been able to use over the years. So the reason, now back to your question, it's about longevity. You know what I'm saying? If you're talking about 3 studio albums within a 3-year period, that's enough time to establish longevity. If you got one hit record off of each of those albums, you know what I'm saying? Those 3 songs can take you the next 10, 15 years. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
Just on a popularity
Jump right in when
level.
you can.
So here's, and again, this is just, I'm gonna say the quiet part out loud. I think part of what may be happening with this debate is there may be a generational aspect to this. Not to say one generation is better than the other, but this is my question, right? Because going back to the criteria, I think it's really important. Because if you're talking about helping establish Def Jam, LL Cool J has to be on it. There's no Def Jam without LL Cool J.
Of course.
Beastie Boys too. But I think the question you have to ask is, what happens when you start to transition out of a certain era, and how do you keep the record label afloat? Because like you just said, it's hit records. So for example, correct me if I'm wrong, Redman was on Def Jam, right?
Yep.
Remember the Def Jam Vendetta video game? Like all the Redman meant, like Redman, Rockwaller. So when you started to have, because every artist, you know, has like a peak, and then it's just hip hop, right? At a certain
peaks
point,
and valleys.
Peaks and valleys, you know, and obviously the greats have a longevity. But when those artists who come out the gate so hot, so prolific, like a LL, start to kind of have a dip, then you start to get into the 90s, you did rely on like a Redman or a Method Man or some of these other artists to carry the torch, or you would have lost relevance.
You had to.
So it's no different than like, you know, like the Lakers, right? At some point you had Kareem, but then it was Shaq, right? So you have to give love and appreciation to the people who kept it afloat during the eras. Because if you take out the Shaqs, you take out the Kobes, and you're just like, oh, I'm a purist, I'm just talking about Magic, the Lakers would have lost relevance. So I think same thing with Def Jam.
I agree.
OGs, you got to respect them, but you also got to talk about who are the pioneers that helped do the transition into the 21st century. You got to show love.
Remember, Method Man was signed also to Def Jam. People forget as a solo artist.
The Takal album was great.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right.
The Busta Rhymes, he's doing songs with Mariah Carey. Like, you know, there's all of these great artists that helped usher into the 2000s. Before it became a streaming era, it let Def Jam be one of the last bastions, one of the last name brands.
Staple of hip hop.
Staple of hip hop. You know, remember what was the movie with Denzel when he's the Harlem dude, American Gangster.
Yeah.
And he's just like, yo, my product is like General Electric, Blue Magic. Yeah. You can bet on General Electric, you could bet on me. That's what Def Jam was. They were the Blue Magic.
Facts.
But how do you get to that brand? That brand is because each era you had like a shining artist luminary. So yes, respect to the OGs, but you also got to look at the people who carried the torch in, you know, late 90s, early 2000s. You got to respect that.
I like the way you said that.
So traveling through LL's mind, now do you understand the people that he chose for the Mount Rushmore during Def Jam? Does it make sense to you with the information?
He's just focused on his era.
So yeah, I mean, look, LL's a GOAT. LL's in the Hall of Fame. LL could do what LL wants. I mean, like, I understand his perspective.
His name.
And, you know, he's an OG. And, you know, I'm never going to, you know, speak irreverent around an OG. But at the same time, I can understand his perspective, but I can understand the limitations of his perspectives. I met LL, by the way. Great. We like, first of all, let me just shout out as a human. Met him at a restaurant. Sat and spoke with me for 10 minutes and gave me game as a young artist. So I never forget that. And he's very knowledgeable about the game. So don't sleep.
Right.
I take his opinion seriously, but I think he's looking at the people who built it. And I'm just saying you also have to look at the people who carried the torch and kept it relevant.
Facts.
Because music is a beast. It'll swallow you like that whale from that biblical story, right? You'll get swallowed in that. And those artists, you know, the Method Man, Redman, the Jays, the Kanyes, they kept, you know, the movement going. So that's my addition to the conversation.
And that's an excellent addition, you know, because when you were saying even about DMX, you know, I had to go, okay, well, you know what? DMX is in there because he was a dynamic artist. He was a very popular artist.
Put out 2 platinum albums in the same year.
DMX, even Jay-Z said it, man.
And then on top of that, he, you know, he sold albums.
He sold albums.
Remember that tour? Was it the Hard Knock Life tour? All those Def Jam artists?
Yeah.
That was, at that time, the biggest tour in hip-hop.
The biggest tour ever at the time.
This is amazing.
Right.
And not to mention, when you have an artist who is as authentic as he is, and he's just, you know, people everywhere, all across the world love him. They love DMX. He could, he could perform at any place on the planet. He could go
But he
to
taps
the
in so
fucking
many
North Pole, and the goddamn
demographics
penguins are gonna go ahead and be
all in
throwing their
one thing.
fucking hands up and losing their mind.
1999 Woodstock.
Jay-Z explained that.
That's one of the
1999
greatest performances
Woodstock.
ever.
If you haven't seen that, go on YouTube and watch that video. One of the best live performances ever.
No hype man.
And no hype man. DMX
Crazy.
soloed as a DJ with a crowd of people that don't look like DMX, and it was hanging on
Every
word.
fucking word.
Every word.
It's like,
Oh my God.
see, Def Jam. Of course, when you think of hip hop, you think of Def Jam. When I think of hip hop, period, the first thing that comes to my mind is Def Jam.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think Bad Boy. I don't think that. No disrespect to none of them, but from
Def
a
Jam.
purist hip hop standpoint, it's Def Jam.
The root of it, right?
The root of it.
Okay.
It's Def Jam. So my thing is like, okay, it's like I think I used the analogy earlier of a tree, right? So LL, Public Enemy, right? The Beastie Boys. You could throw EPMD in there, they came like a couple years later, but they're still in that. Would you put them in the first generation of Def Jam artists, or would you put that like more second generation, right?
Second.
You know what I'm saying?
Represent Long Island. Shout out to Long Island.
Yeah, shout out to Long Island, but
Question for that.
it was they help with the brand with the brand with the when you grow a tree or whatever, it's the
root.
It's the roots, right? So they're the roots. But then you fast forward to the 90s, like he said, and the root starts the tree starting to die a little bit. But
Why
then
does it
somebody
die?
named Warren G comes. People sleep on Warren G. Warren G helped save Def Jam. Warren G.
Yeah, he did.
He did.
And it wasn't just because of it wasn't just
Which I don't know why Suge didn't sign them. That's crazy. I don't know why Suge should.
wow.
Yeah,
It
that's
wasn't
wild.
because of his
That
music,
happens sometimes.
but Warren G is a dope producer.
Facts.
And songwriter. So that you have to take into account.
So he's more
Because
of a producer.
he is a producer that knows how to make records.
That's
You know what I'm
what's
saying?
up. That's good.
And you gotta factor that in. So Warren G, I would say is definitely an honorable mention.
And then after Warren G, you have Onyx. People sleep. You got Onyx.
I forgot about Onyx.
Onyx.
Onyx
All right, y'all
might
niggas,
have to
y'all
go
can-
up on
we
there.
gonna
Onyx,
next-
yeah.
Real talk. Because they were dynamic.
Facts.
They had hit records. They came out with
At least three albums on
Shout
Def
out to
Jam.
You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Shout out.
Still
And,
slaps.
and
Facts.
And
To this day.
very
Still
day.
in
They still tour throughout the whole
They
world
had
to this
their
day.
own sound.
Literally.
That's
They
a
came
fact.
out with their own sound and they stood by
And they
it.
still on tour to this day. All across the
I
planet.
You ever
forgot
seen
Literally.
about
the
Onyx.
joint where it's
God
I
dog.
think it's Sticky Fingers and it's like Brady with bass and they doing slam and they just got a bass
Yeah,
player.
yeah,
Oh, it's crazy. I mean,
yeah.
It's still,
Like
but
that,
that
yeah,
video went
yeah.
viral. It's still hitting. It's still resonating with people, like you said, right? And so I think there's something to that lasting power, that staying power, that you can go back to these records. It's not microwavable. You know,
It's not.
I heard Scarface said something, a quote that I always appreciated. He said, "I would rather make a classic record than a hit record." Because one of them has longevity.
And one don't.
It's timeless.
Yeah,
It's time. And I
timeless.
think in this conversation, we got to look
timeless.
at who are the artists, not just, you were hot for that period, you had a couple joints, but who had that timeless you can come back to.
Then now we're going to leave Onyx and go to Jay and DMX.
So
When
y'all
you talking
broke
about
it
timeless
down.
music.
Y'all broke it
Keep
down.
saying
They grew the
Jay,
branches.
and I
They
don't-
grew the branches.
For some reason, I don't really.
How many
see-
albums did he do on Def Jam?
Jay.
I don't
A
know.
bunch.
I mean, even if he
More than
did,
three?
if he did three, I mean, he put out 10 albums. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
I don't
mean,
see
and
how
he
you
was.
don't see Jay. I mean, you just talking about Def Jam. I get it, but I'm pretty sure he played a good role when it comes to Def Jam. This
Because
is just Def Jam, guys.
but you
We're
got to
not saying
think
overall
he
overall
was
career.
he was in a unique position of being the president while he's putting these records out.
But even
Well,
before he became the president, though, you know what I'm
he
saying?
probably put out one album before he became president, maybe two.
Not because you gotta remember, Volume 2 was on Def Jam. Volume 3 was on Def Jam.
I gotta look that up.
You gotta look it up.
How
Blueprint,
many
Blueprint 1,
albums?
Blueprint 2, multiple albums. He had about good
Blueprint.
5-6 albums on Def Jam.
Because even Blueprint and Blueprint on
Because remember, the first album was on Priority. the Reason Die album. It was a priority album. Then the second album, Volume 1, that's when that was the first album I went to Def Jam. But then Volume 2 was when Hard Knock Life came out, and it just put them all in a whole nother stratosphere.
This just goes to show how much artists help the record labels just as much as the record labels help the artists.
Listen,
and
the artists
I've never heard it from this perspective.
the artists are the reason why the label gets the type of cachet that they can have.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? Because they're just the machine behind the artist.
Right.
You understand? They are the ones that are like, you know, the co-signer. Like, look, like somebody made a really valid point. The labels, they're like banks. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. You go in there, you apply for a loan, you do what you do, but you got to pay that loan back with interest.
Right. That's
you know what I'm saying?
Definitely.
And you really are getting pennies on the dollar.
Right.
And people were still able to flourish in that system.
They at that time, yeah.
But we got to think of the economics of the time. So it's a little bit different because I don't think people could really get those type of deals. Forget about the 360 deals. They couldn't manage on a regular 10-point record deal today.
Nah, right. You right.
It
you
took a lot
of
way more work, and it's so funny because it's easier, and they still not at the caliber that they were back in the days. It's very interesting.
So let me throw this scenario out here then. I think you could go ahead and use two different categories because Def Jam has so many artists, so many.
Right, they've been through so many eras.
You could make a Mount Rushmore for solo artists and a separate Mount Rushmore for groups.
There you go. We can do it that
So
way.
now, let's say if you had to do it for both, who would y'all put on the Mount Rushmore for groups as far as Def Jam, and then for solo artists?
For me,
groups, it's like quiet.
Groups would be Public Enemy, Beastie Boys, Onyx, and the
EPMD.
fourth one.
See, that's personal.
You know what I'm saying? I would like for it to be EPMD because EPMD put out hit albums. They put them out
so they fit
back
your
to
criteria,
back to back to back. You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
So what else is on the criteria list? But we gotta change subjects.
I gotta think about
It's still
that.
within the hip hop realm, but I have a question.
Yeah.
And the question is, we're talking about hip hop. Why do you feel that Long Island is overlooked when it comes to New York and hip hop?
All right, thank you, Goddess Kia, for that question. Let's talk about it. So
Let's talk about it.
I'm from Long Island. I'm from Baldwin, born in Haiti, but raised in Long Island. And here's the thing. I think people do not properly credit the contributions of Long Island artists to this game.
What?
You're talking Biz Markie. You're talking Busta Rhymes. You're talking Rakim, who literally just put out an album recently. You're talking EPMD. There are so many out here. De La Soul, who I believe are from Amityville, right? So you're talking about, you're talking about all of these influences and different types of artists with different types of sounds. And you see that reflected today, whether it's that suave, kind of suave gangster, whether it's that, we bring the fun and kind of, goofier hip hop, whether it's that raw, energy, you know what I mean? Like you ever heard of what's the Scenario record? Like Busta Rhymes, Dungeon Draft. Like there's so many classic moments when it comes to Long Island artists and how they've influenced the sound. And I think what tends to happen is some of the artists, maybe were raised there. Some of the artists were born there. Some of the artists, moved from another place. But what I'm seeing in today's generation is you'll have people who were born in Long Island, they'll live in Brooklyn for 2 years, but like, yo, I BK all day. And it's like, yo, it's always one of them dudes at the show. It's like, it's like, bro, I used to see you at Roosevelt Field giving shape ups, my guy. Like, so
Don't play.
Yeah.
so, you know what I mean? Like, just be who you. It's fine. Like, and I think that you're starting to see a little bit come out, come back.
Who are the new generations that's coming from Long Island right now?
So a lot of people are gonna point to Cash Cobain.
Okay.
You know that.
That's
whole,
right. I forgot he's from Long Island.
Yeah. That whole movement. You know, if you look at
Shout out to DJ Shelter also. I'm gonna say.
yeah, shout out to DJ Tone Experience. There's a lot of people that are doing their thing out there. You know, a lot of people are recognizing their sound. You know, this beat is from Cash, not from YouTube, right? Deani Dior, I believe is from Long Island. So there's a lot of super dope artists. I think just in terms of like my circle, you've got Nick Moody, One Take Carter. I put myself in there, Bert G. You've got Clout Jones. You've got Jakes.
Shout out to Cloud Jones and
Jesse E Plan. Like, you know, he has that Hampton song that's like super viral. So there's a lot of different artists and sounds that are coming out of Long Island. And Baddie Barbs is one to really look out for.
Baddie Barbs, okay.
Yeah, she can spit, she can do songs, all types of stuff. So there's a lot of dope artists. You know, shout out to Music Industry Long Island, who actually is a magazine that profiles a lot of these artists. But there's a lot, and you know what's crazy is a lot of these artists, they may not be at the forefront, but they're the songwriter for your favorite artist. Or they're the producing the beat for your favorite artist. Yeah, I know a lot of people who are in the songwriting game, and it's like they're producing for other artists in New York, but it's like, nah, that sound is dudes like Tata. You know, that sound is coming from Long Island. So it's just, I just want to make sure that Long Island gets the respect and recognition because there's a history there, and even the current generation.
Deep history.
Yeah, there's a deep history, and the current generation, they got something to say. So
let me ask you another question. Like, I mean, just in general, do you think, you know, Long Island is just on the back burner, you know? Because it's almost feeling like when somebody asks you, where you from? And you be like, I'm from New York. Oh, where from New York? Buffalo. That don't count. You ain't from New York. Right. Do you feel like Long Island gets that type of feedback from people? Or do you feel like that Long Island is part of the, you know?
Yeah, I feel like Long Island just gets treated like that that stepbrother or that borough that everybody forgot about.
Right? Like, yeah, you from Long Island. Okay, get out of here.
But you know what I mean? Like, Queens and Long Island, the border is right there. You know, sometimes I be in parties and I'm like, yo, am I in Queens or Long Island right now? You know what I mean? Like, you're not even sure. It's like someone set the location. So, yeah, I think that Long Island sometimes gets the short end of the stick. But, you know, they're part of the movement. One thing I don't like is, you know, or I think is missing from Long Island, I think there's an opportunity for more unity, collaboration. I'll talk about some of the projects I'm doing to help further that, but there's a lot of mentality I've heard people like, yo, you got to get popping in New York City. I'm going to do this showcase out here and not back home because if I'm lit in New York City, I'll come back to Long Island. Now we up.
So that's why you put together, because I was paying attention to social media, and it seemed like, if I'm wording it wrong, correct me, you put together, was it a content party?
Yes. So all right. Here's the thing about this. So we put together, haven't really seen so many people do it. We put together a 5-hour content party. And the idea is when you're an artist, you starting out, you just mentioned it earlier, you got to have the visuals, you got to have, you know, certain branding to go along with it so people will take you seriously. But when you're a new artist and you know, you haven't broken through, that could be expensive. So what we decided to do was like, let's get a bunch of artists together. Because what I realized is if you organize and you shoot all that content at once and everyone kind of shares the resources, you can have 3 to 6 months. And influencers do this, right? I follow, you know, if you follow the top influencers, the top YouTubers, TikTokers, they be doing this. They'll go to a mansion, they'll shoot content for a day or 2 days, and they pump out that content for like 6 months. So the idea behind it was, I'm not going to hold you. Initially, you wanted to do it at a mansion. But, yeah, I mean, we wasn't there yet. So we got a really nice house. We found one of my guys, he's a lawyer. He found out that I was trying to get like this rental, this thing called Swimply. And he was like, yo, I'll do it for much cheaper. I like what you're doing. So we rented the spot. We had it for like 5 hours. We had 2 podcasts and 3 music videos shot. So Music Industry Long Island partnered up. And this is what I'm talking about, collaboration. So they partnered up. Play with Rocks partnered up with us. Help curate the event, get artists. We had artists like Clout Jones, Jakes, Jada Lease, Fashion State Trending. But we have King P.I.B., like all of these staples in Long Island. Like it was almost like the Avengers. If you look at how many cameos was there, like it was like Deadpool and Wolverine, but for Long Island. But I know that artist, I know that artist, I know that artist. But everyone came out, showed love. We broke bread after. And yo, we sitting on like a treasure trove of content. And the whole idea is to keep doing these. And at the next one, we're going to rent out this crazy mansion.
And just to, touch on what you're talking about also, people forget how big Long Island is.
Right.
Long Island isn't a little place.
Nah.
So there's enough artists out there where you guys could create your own narrative in your own industry.
100%.
So are you going to be biased? Like if we wanted to collaborate with you here in the city, are you willing to let others in? Or is this something that you just want to like keep in Long Island for right now and then spread the love later on? Like how are you planning on doing this?
No, that's a great question. So I look at things in terms of steps. The first step is to establish Long Island as a voice. We shot a documentary last year about the making of this project, Fridays in Long Island. And I was inspired by J. Cole and Dreamville. If you remember in North Carolina, they did an album and they were like, we got 10 days to record the album. Whoever gets their verse done is on it. If you don't get your verse done,
it's over.
Whatever, it's a wrap for you, right? And they recorded that process. And it was through that documentary and that Revenge of the Dreamers that I found out about JID, that I found out about Earth Gang, all of these dope artists that I had never, and I love these artists. Like I would literally go to a JID concert. However, that was what it took to put them on my radar. So my first passion is putting on Long Island. I actually they used to do a thing called Strong Island Music Fest.
I remember.
Before COVID, Rakim performed. I noticed the Instagram was defunct. I was like, for real? And it wasn't happening. So I got the Instagram. I bought the intellectual property. I have Long Island musicfest.live. I have all these websites. And we're planning to do the first Long Island Music Fest. And of course, step 2, we want to branch out. Happy to collaborate with you guys. But I tell people, I'm Patrick Mahomes. Like I put it on my back. When things go wrong, I take the blame. When things go right, I give everybody else the credit. But it's like I tell people, you rocking with me, it's Tony Stark's. Like it's the Avengers, like it's Captain
That's
America. Like just pull up. We gonna be all right.
You my twin. You rocking with me?
Yeah.
Good.
It's gonna be all right.
That's
I
right.
like that.
And
I
I
like
do take
that.
the
Boy,
blame,
yeah.
and if not, we all rocking. That's how you do it.
100%.
That's called leadership.
So I like what you're doing because in New York in general, there's a me thing that goes on all the time. Where
Right.
if it's not me or somebody in my immediate circle, it's F everybody else.
Right.
And it's kind of like that's a lot of reasons why up and coming or independent New York artists stay in the lane that they're at and they don't get any further. So for you to actually say, nah, we're gonna go ahead and come together,
Right.
And we're Long Island. Not I'm Long Island, we're Long Island.
Right.
So we're gonna go ahead and get our shit right first. And then from there, we're going to go ahead and conquer.
You know what it is? It's Team USA.
I'm inspired. We may do something like that. New York does do a lot of things.
It's like you said, Team USA.
But there has
LeBron,
to be
LeBron,
Hey, yo,
KD,
Steph gotta
everybody
give it to
come
Steph.
together. Yeah,
Right.
KD got to give it to KD as long as we win gold.
At this point of the game, I don't care where you're from. You know what I mean? You have to exhibit more camaraderie because that's how the South came up.
Yep.
That's how the South, I mean Atlanta, Florida, Louisiana, Texas, Memphis. You know what I'm saying?
the Bay also.
Right. But then that's a whole nother beast because even before all of that came about, you had the whole West Coast.
Literally.
You know what I'm saying? California.
That's why
and
Pop
Texas
went over
is
there.
even in there with that.
Yeah,
So you got California, you got Washington State with Seattle and them boys up there.
Oregon.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So you got to keep in mind, there were artists that were going platinum in California alone. They never had to step foot in New York. This was the beginning of regional hip hop, and this is probably 1990,
E40,
91.
Too Short.
We give a shout out to the
E40, Too
Bronx.
Short,
Richie Rich.
Quick, MC8, all of them
Yeah.
brothers. You know what I'm saying? Every last
It
one
can
of
be
them.
done.
They were going from selling tapes and CDs out of the back of their car,
Right.
coming up to being able to sell.
And you know what? I want to say this to your point. I think Jay said in an interview, he said, would you rather have 100% of nothing or 1% of a million?
You always say
Right?
that.
And I also think about like that whole like going back to the camaraderie, right? No Limit, go back and study that movement. They were all on each other's records, putting each other up. I just heard the other day, Juvenile was saying how Lil Wayne stayed in the studio just so he can be on Back That Ass Up. He couldn't get a verse in, but he was like, drop it like it's hot. He stayed in the studio till everybody left so he can get on there. And even now, with the whole Cash Cobain thing, if you look at his videos or even his reels, Chow Lee's always in there. Bay Swag is always in there. That, like, and I tell my guys, like, yo, pull up, cameo on my video, all cameo on your video, right? We want to create that sense of unity. I remember I heard 50 Cent say on an interview one time, yo, they was doing shows in Queens, and at one point, it was a bunch of people trying to shoot up whatever. He was like, yo, I'm stopping the show right now. He's like, it's one thing if y'all want to be thugs and go like shoot up other people's things, but Queens got to protect Queens. Y'all can't be starting fights at Queens shows.
Right. And beef from Queens.
Yeah, exactly. And so like when 50 said that, and 50 had juice in the streets. Remember that? So when he said that, juice. And you saw how they started moving differently. So you can come to a 50 Cent G-Unit show in Queens and you were good. They changed the narrative, right? And you saw how that movement started to take off. So I think that's the mentality I'm trying to instill. But I think a lot of times when people come from not having it, it's a scarcity mindset, right? And you
we gonna definitely.
So let me ask you a question also.
Talk to me.
Do you think that the advantage you have being from Long Island, because a lot of guys from the city, we don't really understand the business right there, right? Because guess what? If we want to go, we could go ahead and go to the record label like in 20 minutes.
Right.
Compared to you guys, you got to go ahead and drive up the exit 57. Then you got to wait for the Long Island Railroad, and it's a whole process. But what people don't understand that it's a lot of successful people behind the scenes, like you said, that's from Long Island, that's in the music business,
right?
That are not just artists, that are executives right now, what have you. Would you say that you guys have an advantage because you understand the business better?
Not so much. I think I'm gonna give you an alternate perspective, right?
All right.
We've gotten to live through a time that's really interesting where there's a shift in the power dynamic between the artist and the label, right? Because for one of the first times ever, you can directly distribute to your end customer as a musician. So, do you know how hard it was to make a studio album, like in the 90s? How many engineers, how many people? You literally could have a studio in your basement and have an iPhone and upload to DSPs, DistroKid, over the weekend, right? And have the record. Now, mind you, yes, there are other things that labels do and this, that, and the third, but it's so easy to actually directly access, influence, and connect with your end user in a way that you couldn't do back in the day, right? So I think
without the help of the label, right?
Without the help of the label, artists are more independent. Now, the challenge is some people confuse creative industries with like, oh, it's just all play. And I take this as serious as a heart attack, right? Because I've worked jobs. I've been a teacher. I've done customer service. I've entered data. I've done jobs
building skill sets, right?
Building skill sets. But I've done jobs that I've hated. So I work harder on this than I work on anything I've ever worked on. And I try to tell artists, like sometimes I'll be in music video shoots and like people start drinking the liquor and I'm just like, yo, we need that for scene 3. Are you going to run and fill up that Casamigos with water? Like, no, you're not. So stop drinking that, my guy. We'll celebrate after because we need that. Like, I'm thinking about, yo, we need that drink for scene 3.
Laughing, like, put that down, guys. Scene
Boy, if you don't put that
we working.
Liquor that you didn't contribute.
Yeah, that's the problem. That is a undertone issue that the newer artists are faced with. You know what I mean? And I've had the pleasure of being with Shaka's brother and just really seeing like the craft and the steps, and you clearly see like even them performing on stage that they're not even practicing or rehearsing. It's like they're all over the place. They're not doing, they don't have the craft and the skill sets like they supposed to, and I don't think it take it serious.
And you know what I think it is? I think it's exposure, because one of my favorite quotes is, if you hang around 5 millionaires, you'll become the 6th. And I think a lot of these artists, they're seeing that, they're around these crews and people who are kind of half doing it. And maybe every now and then one of those people will shoot a swing and they'll hit. But if you look at the old school artists, I just watched Joe Budden talked about Don Toliver the other day. He was like standing outside of a club at 6 a.m. in 2017 to pass out his demo, right? Next thing you know, a couple years later, he's on songs with Travis Scott. And it's like, you don't see that work ethic anymore, right? You don't see it, and people are not around it. But, you know, I'm immigrant. I'm born in Haiti. Like, I'm around that, like, work ethic and everything that I've done. And I try to instill that to my team. Everything I say to my team is the parties get way better later on. Because my team be trying to party. They be trying to, this girl shit that I'm just like, yo, bro, like, they're not going anywhere, bro. Like, just stay locked in.
Right.
And
do the work.
But
do
that's
the work.
unfortunate,
You know?
because the new trend in the new world, whether it's music or not, is like this, you know, little TikTokers. They're not, the work ethic is not there the way it used to be. Just on a, you know, on the the generation of what Z they call them, like it's just totally different. The mindset and the mind frame, the average teenager and the average 20-year-old is way different in comparison to some of us now. It's way different.
I think that
it's not a bad thing, but it's just a little different.
Well, it's a thing. It may not be bad, it may not be good, but it's something. What happened is you have a generation of young folks who grew up with this technology. They don't know anything else. So now you get to a point where there's a level of complacency. You know what I'm saying? You take it for granted because this. What else do you know?
That's
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's what's happening with, you know, this younger generation, because it's they come into you know, before they walk in, they got a tablet in their hand. You know what I mean? So they have this. They're extremely talented, but there's a misfire. Your intentions and your intentions and your approach. So, I mean, just to keep it simple, I don't want to get long-winded with it, you know. But, you know, there are more people who are showing that ingenuity nowadays, and, you know, we have to highlight that so that it can be seen and looked at as a valuable tool, and it's something that can't be overlooked.
Now, I want to get into another question before we get into the music. I want to talk about, cause it's in tune with what you're saying,
right?
But loyalty amongst your team, like you look at the thing, like what's going on right now in the news. Like you see what Jay and Dame are going through with the whole the Masters regional doubt and everything, and it's kind of like, you know, which is a shame because you had a beautiful relationship at one time, and these guys are, you know, we looked at these guys as icons growing up, and to see that whole partnership fall apart the way it did, and unfortunately. So how do you keep the camaraderie amongst, you know, your brothers or whatever, to make sure that everybody is on the same wavelength? Because, you know, it's going to be a time real soon that, you know, bigger checks going to be cut. Like you said, bigger parties, bigger everything.
Right.
And, you know, you got to know that, hey, man, when this shit comes, that we all go ahead and we going to get this together. No man, what they say, no one man's above the program.
Right.
And no man should be left behind. Jada Kid spoke on this with D Block and stuff. He spoke. They have a formula. You know, that's why they're still together.
Man,
he spoke on this.
Just stay hungry, man.
He just hungry. Basically, like anything that happens, they all come together and they discuss it. They have had hash outs and stuff, but they keep it in house. And sometimes people will come in to be the mediator, but you know, just like having that respect and keeping to the promise is what kept them where they're at now, as far as family, as far as a team, as far as doing things together. So sorry, I apologize because I can't go into detail. This is about like 2 years ago when I watched this, but it's something to kind of analyze, to go back into and just listen to what Jadakiss said. But there has to be a level of respect. So even if you have a formula and you're not willing to apply it, and it's just not going to happen. It's not going to go anywhere. Yeah. So you got that respect has to be there, and you got to understand that not all money is good money. Not all deals are good deals. And this is this one word that I say all the time in group economics. One man can do many things, but many men can make greatness. So don't be too stingy to where somebody give you something and is going to X out your people. Or sometimes opportunities come, negotiate. Listen, all right, I like this deal, but I got this person. Now, the three of us, right? One person may get a deal, and maybe that the person who's giving you the deal don't want them. Try to inject them in some way, somehow, to keep them in there, and then y'all make y'all plan, right? So now, all right, well, look, you're not going to do the podcasting, but no, I want her to be the camera lady. Right. I want her to still be in there. No, I don't want, you know what I mean? Right. There's ways to get strategic.
Make a role.
Right, give them
create a role.
So that they're still in there. And when you have that opportunity presents itself, because your contract could be 5 years, 2 years. Right. Now y'all in there. Now y'all can go ahead and do your thing. It's so simple.
You go ahead.
I love what you said about setting those expectations up front.
Very important.
One of the things that I've learned kind of through therapy is I just put people in buckets. I observe how people move. I'm gonna put you in one or two buckets. You're either gonna be in bucket one, which is empire, or bucket two, which is associates. And to be in the empire bucket, you got to move a certain way. And one of the things I realized too, especially being a leader, is, and I said this in a song one time, I said, I'm the one they call for favors. I always take it, but every favor I do goes unreciprocated, right? And I was just feeling like I was doing a lot for people, putting up the upfront bread, and just feeling like, you know what I mean?
I'm going to say a quote that I was something similar to that.
Yeah. And so what I realized is different people are at a different level of maturity. And my whole thing is like, listen, if we're going to do on this project and we're going to split X, or let's say I'm putting the lion's share of the funding up, I just need to know that you're going to do your part. I don't even need you to do 50% of it or whatever. But if you know that this is the setup, and you're going to show me that, okay, you're locked into your part, or I got to say, you know what? I'm not going to discard the relationship or say we can't do stuff, but you can't be in the empire. So you won't be on this part of the plan, right? Because it's for my mental health, right? More than anything, as much as I love being an artist, my mental health is number one. So it's like, yo, I'm not trying to throw people away, but I can't let you get closer until, it's no different than a video game. You can't, you didn't get to the final boss yet. You need to, there's things that I can teach you. There's things that life can teach you. Right, I remember that story when Jay-Z said, "I left Memphis Bleak off of volume. I think it was volume 1. Yeah, because he came to the studio. It was time to record, and he was like in there with a girl. He was missing studio. He left him off the album.
I'm serious about this shit. Right?
Yeah, and then he learned that lesson, and then he went to the associates, and he came back to Empire. Right, so that's my thing. It's like, yo, you gonna let me know how you move? Are you Empire? Or are you associates?
But I like what you said. It's about your mental health. And that's where I'm at right now. Like, it's not about me being petty. It's not about me being emotional. It's about my mental health. Yeah. And I can't be around, especially when I have high energy and I know I can give my all. 100%. And you're not matching that.
You look like you execute, yeah.
Like, like you said, just do your part. It don't have to be what I do, but do it and do it well. 100%. And let me know you loyal to it so we can make this happen.
You gotta protect yourself.
And one thing I would say to that is, my therapist told me this one time. She said,
somebody recommended, but anyway.
She said the reason you're so disappointed all the time is because you expect people to be like you. Instead of recognizing who they are, right? When people show you who they are, believe them. And you'll be less disappointed. So like, facts. I've had a few situations where I'm like, oh man, I thought that. I'm like, you know what? This person has shown me that this is who they are. They're in this bucket. I'm cooling. I'm just going to move differently for the next thing. I'd love for them to come to the other bucket, but they're going to have to show and prove.
I know how to deal with you accordingly now.
So but you come off as somebody who's high energy and high driven, and you don't need nobody. Some people need that extra push and motivation, but then some people just motivate themselves and they can just go. And I think those high energy, high driven people always get disappointed because that's the category I'm in. You know what I mean? And I don't want to take no for an answer. We can do this. If we stick together, we can do it. We be consistent and happen. There's no in between. And it's hard to find people to match that. Right. So like I'm in the same position as you. Like, listen, When they show you who are believing, you so passionate, and you want everybody to come along, but they don't want to come.
I can't want the opportunity for you more than you want it for yourself.
That's
Facts.
the problem.
You know what I mean? This is boss talk right now. This is boss talk.
That's
Like, it's
right.
if I want it for you more than you want it for yourself, like if I'm chasing y'all to come to the studio session that I pay for, like what are we doing?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
Somebody's supposed to be here right now, but you know what I mean? They not here or whatever. I'm not gonna
And
go ahead and
we're
chase
not
it
gonna
down.
get messy.
Yeah.
No,
but I get it, but it happens, right?
Strike
It
two.
happens.
Strike two.
Because you might not see the value.
Strike two.
But then when you feel that person's value, now you want to come. And
Yeah.
so, like I always say, people don't want to ride on a bus that's not moving.
Right.
But sometimes it requires for the people to come and push the bus and to get it to move. You know what I'm saying?
Facts.
I always say that. Like you don't always have to just come on when it's moving.
Right.
Let's all push together to make the joint move.
Right,
There's different
right.
perspectives.
Now let's get into last but definitely not least the most important thing, the music.
Right.
What's going on right now? What are we coming out with? What are we dropping? The videos, EPs, the works, everything. What's going on right now?
Yes. So we have this project called Fridays in Long Island.
All right.
4-song EP. Every song is gonna have a visual to it. And it's gonna be sold and distributed in different ways. So it's gonna be QR codes, whether it's gonna be merch that has the album on it, or we got a rum punch with the album on it. So we're actually distributing a duck patch with the album on it. So it's gonna be distributed in different ways. But what I really like about the album is just the perspective and the angle that we have on it, right? Like, so for example, we have a song on there called Not My Twin. Everyone's talking about twin, you my twin, whatever. And it's like, a lot of times, you might act bad twin. Nah, hey, I like that song. That video was
Right.
great. Shout out to those
Act
guys.
bad.
No, it's not covering my mouth.
Yeah. But a lot of that stuff is talking about
Cover
like
mouth.
super toxic relationships. And I'm not going to say there's no toxic moments or no light skin moments on the album. I ain't going to lie to y'all.
You said
Nothing wrong with that.
moments. I love it.
However, at the same time, we give y'all balance, right? So you're kind of seeing kind of both perspectives. So it's really going through like, yo, imagine being younger. It's the summertime, or it's that weird time between the end of summer and cuffing season. Y'all know what I'm talking about. When people gotta make hard decisions.
Yeah.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You gonna rock out with who you was rocking out with during the summer? Or you trying to get
to the
cuddled
bag.
up, you know what I mean? With something, September coming. You trying to Netflix and chill, Roku and ramen.
Listen,
if you on a budget.
you know what I'm saying? Those checks are coming in February, so you gotta
Hulu and
cuff up.
halal. Right? So, you know, we got the song Not My Twin, and it's talking about a relationship that didn't go the right way because the boundaries weren't set.
That's the joint we was listening to earlier, or
We gonna play something.
You gonna play
in
in
a second, yeah. We
well,
got that. We got one of my favorite songs on there just because it really reps Long Island. It's 80 miles an hour on the southern state. I love that song. One, you know, if you've been out in Long Island to a party over the summer, you've either been on the southern state to get to the LIE or you've been on the LIE. And to your point, Long Island, you got Nassau, you got Suffolk, you got everything from Hempstead to Patchogue, right? You got to show love to the whole island. So I love that song because it's about a guy who's thinking about this girl he met at a party the summer before. And he's asking himself, was it a lit party? Was we had a dope moment at this party, or was it a real thing?
Right.
And he's trying to find out. He's asking her to communicate. And I don't like to over break down my music.
Right.
But it's also a metaphor to like holding on to childish ways of our youth. Like,
love it.
am I still attached to that old kind of feeling, or was that just nostalgia? Like, if I look back, it's like, nah, actually, that party was kind of rough. Like, I was super drunk. I woke up. I was late for work.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I had to do the hangover pill with the
hangover-
mushroom coffee just to get out
Mushroom,
the.
like I gotta get
But
out.
that's the real life part of it. But then let's say you hear a song that take you back to that moment. You almost at that party right then and there.
No, but that's what it is. It's both of it. It's like, it's both sides. It's you know.
You're at it, but you're not. What the hell is going on? Like,
Yeah, no,
I'm
you know-
playing tricks on you.
No, because you know one of the lines I say is before I had that dog in me, it was puppy love, summertime fling or a thing. Tell me what we was, right? So it's like,
Well, I can see the visual for that.
yeah, like just trying to figure
that's
out,
all-
like, was this a
that's what you want.
summertime fling?
Like
Like
between
before I had that.
two dimensions.
Right, I was about to say you're in the
That's
future
dope.
and then you're not. Like
Yeah.
the 720 degrees in and outer.
Yeah.
I see
I
something.
had
like
this
that.
thing where, and, you know, and just going to that longing, I said, you know, now I'm out here feeling like Ken with no Barbie. My favorite what if is what are we, right? And it's like kind of having those what ifs in your mind going over and over as you get older. Like, yo, should I have pulled the? Should I? maybe that could have went different, or what's going on? Should I go back to that, revisit that? And I think as we get older, we experience those feelings of longing for our youth and like what happened before, whether it's old relationship or old summer. Maybe it's that song that came on at the cookout. You're like, oh, I'm right back there. You be with your boys, but yo, remember that one time at one party, and then we went to go play pool with them girls, and then this happened. You know what I mean? And like, you guys are laughing, and so I think there's that question in that moment. You say, am I gonna mature, or am I gonna stay stuck and kind of reliving these past memories? And it's like that tension between. I'm not saying there's a right answer. It's not a preachy album. It's just like, yo, you're getting both emotions on this record. So that's why I'm super. And we got I think we talked about it. We got a song with Voice of Harlem on there too. So we got some cool features. But
that's dope.
Okay, Harlem in the Pills.
So, yeah, man. Let's before we go, let's.
Yeah, I'm gonna give you.
But I just want to give my commentary. I love the diversity of how you're gonna push these songs out. I love it. I don't know. It's something about me like. I like new things and I like challenges. Yeah. And I don't like just doing the same thing over and over again. So your diversity of how you're gonna have it on a shirt on this one, and you're gonna push it out with something else. I love it, and it's gonna be great because I
appreciate that.
You like cross marketing. Yourself.
I like the way your mind thinks. I love it.
Nah, I appreciate that.
I feel like you're the male version.
I like cross marketing as well. Yeah. It shows a creative zone. You know, you put yourself in a creative zone to do things where one aspect meets another.
Absolutely.
You know, and that's always a strong move in being an entrepreneur.
I appreciate that. And to add to what you said, one of the quotes I heard that really stuck with me was, we used to be in a product economy, then we moved to a service economy, now we're in an experience economy. So when I think of music, I'm like, how do I give people an experience? It's like, you know what? Let's do a pop-up where we sell, patches with the QR code and little rum punches with the QR code with the album. And it's like, play this song while you're drinking this drink. That's an experience. So now you're not just thinking, I heard this song. You experience the song, right? And that's what a lot of people are not thinking. They should have never gave me.
I got a question for you. Did anyone try to take that thought process from you? Say, okay, that's too much. We can't do the rum punch, and then we can't do the QR code on the t-shirt, and we can't do this, and we can't do that.
All the time.
Right, because I get that. Like, it's like, which one is it? You got too many things going on, but that's how my mind thinks.
Yeah.
Right, so.
All the time. You know what? I remember, I never forget in college, this girl put me aside. She's like, you know what? You're a smart guy, but I keep thinking you're just an overachiever. And I'm not like, I didn't even understand what that word means. I'm like, why don't people who look like me from my position achieve as much as they can? What's overachieving?
But that's still a compliment to me. People just say you just you got to focus. You got to send in your thoughts.
She was saying I was doing too much, but
really, okay.
Yeah, but like my perspective is just like, what's the line? Achieving over what line? I don't put that bar over me. You put that bar over me. You put that limitation over me. Mm-hmm. So it's overachieving in your perspective and your limitation, but not for the limitations I have for myself. You know what I mean? I don't see it as overachieving because I don't see that imaginary line.
I'm happy to hear that.
We're going to go ahead and get into the song.
Yeah, let's get it.
So we're going to do behind the scenes and speak a little bit about mental health with men.
1000%. So this is the first joint, Not My Twin.
Chanel bags, why buy you these? Kush green, even how I weed. All of my stories, I don't need you lie for me. Like, how you lie on me to lie on me? Like, how you lie on me to lie on
I'll pause there. So that's one joint. Appreciate you.
That's
dope.
nice.
Dope.
This one is the reference, but the hook is mostly done. This is called 80 Miles an Hour. I haven't mastered my verse yet, but I wanted y'all to hear it. So we had a couple different vocalists on it. And you know what's crazy? I sent this out as an open, and I sent it to like 5 singers, and I'm like, and I said I'll throw you a bag if you, and only like one person got back to me. So like, if it blows, I don't know what to tell y'all. Like, I won't say who had the opportunity to be on this record, but
Hey.
but I like it. It kind of has like a Mac Miller vibe. I'm a huge Mac Miller fan, so
Y'all hearing it right here on 10 Toes Down.
let's get it. 10 toes, 80 miles an hour on the Southern State. Shout out to Zach G.
Tell me where did I get off the section? On the stairs. Like who we kidding around with traffic? Like damn. Over the limit, I might get arrested. I ain't gonna give me what I'm saying.
Not this light skin love. All right, pause there. So little snippets, y'all getting?
No doubt.
Appreciate
So,
you.
Yes.
so we gonna
Appreciate you.
10 Toes
Appreciate you.
Down.
Appreciate you.
Yes.
so when's the EP dropping officially?
I'm gonna give y'all a range because I'm thinking about the time it takes to get all these videos edited because we want to release it as a visual album too.
I love those. Beyonce was good with
I'll probably say like first week of September. So I'm actually walking in Fashion Week on September 13th. Glorilla's performing.
Okay.
So the goal is to have the project released before I walk in Fashion Week. And what we're gonna do is for everyone who buys the project and supports it, I'm gonna raffle off an all access ticket to Fashion Week.
That's dope. All right.
So, and all the reels promoting Fashion Week, the music is, so
That's
you
a
talked about
good
cross promotion.
Right.
So I'm modeling in Fashion Week. All the reels, is going to have music from the record. And all of the fans who engage, I just got this new email system where it's like someone can send an email and they'll get a free song. Everybody who engages with me gives me an email or purchases, you'll have an opportunity to win a ticket for Fashion Week. So,
Phenomenal.
yeah.
All right.
Being creative.
So we dropping in September.
Yes.
We got so the merch is gonna be on deck the same week also. Or
Yeah,
is
we're
it
gonna
coming
have
up
merch on deck. Absolutely.
So where can they find the merch? Where can they find everything? Websites.
Yeah, so I would say the best place is I'm gonna put everything on my IG. So just follow at BERTG Music at Bert G Music. My
Yeah.
link tree is gonna be on there. That's the most direct hub because I can always
There you
update the
go.
link tree. So just
So you got your link tree. All right.
Yeah.
Y'all
So
can just
basically,
plug in.
follow the IG.
Hit the link
Everything's
tree.
gonna be on the link tree.
yes, sir.
Spend that money.
Can't hide.
Absolutely.
Support the brand. Support
Send the
movement.
money or join the email list and be part of the community.
Okay,
Yeah.
there's
that's
different
even more
ways.
dope.
Yeah,
All right.
Yes.
Because we're gonna have perks for people who are part of the community.
Yes.
Because you get to say that you were part of this first.
And let the camera see the hoodie.
Yeah, so the hoodie says "I'm enough" with an emphasis on the MEN.
Okay,
So
dope.
I have a spoken word piece called "I'm Enough."
Okay.
I do spoken word as well, and really the focus on there was really talking about feeling enough from the perspective of masculinity. A lot of times, especially in today's climate, as men, I'm gonna speak for myself, right? I think a lot of my value comes from my ability to produce, my ability to add value. Like if you look at the culture today, right? Like, if you see the girls' TikToks, it's like the guy passes by, he's like, "Hello, what's your name?" She's like, "Here's my Cash App," right? So there's a lot of guys feeling this pressure to have to produce, you know what I mean? And to have
Yes.
to And even though you can bring a lot of other things to the table,
Right.
and a lot of men are attaching their worth and their value to things that change. Yeah, if I attach my value to Jordans, that could change the price. If I attach my value to how well I ball, my ankle could get hurt. But if I attach my value to my character, who I am, my mind, how I feed my mind.
a highly driven person too.
Yeah, 100%. So it's like I'm
enough.
enough because I can do all those. I can control all those things.
Enough.
And if you keep doing that, obviously all the material things will come, right? But it's reclaiming the narrative around men and where the value comes from.
Right.
There's not enough good men out there. There's not enough good brothers out there. So if you have good character, because you can ask women too, like you can tell like the guy who's already there and the guy you're like he's not there yet, but I can see how he's moving, how he's hustling.
Yeah.
That's
like,
what I'm talking.
You know what I mean?
Nah, that's dope.
I
That's
love
dope.
So
this is definitely another conversation that I would like to have with you in depth on Instagram. Just a little, you know what I mean, conversation about
Absolutely.
that in regards to the younger males out there that are feeling that pressure.
Right.
There are a lot of older men who are saying, "Oh, women got to be this way, women got to be that way, but men got to be providers." And I can see the anxiety when you don't have it. You know what I mean?
Right.
So this is definitely something that the youth need to constantly
Definitely,
hear.
we
and
could
strategies.
definitely something where we could come back and focus, have a conversation, just focus on mental health in general.
We have
100%.
to.
And it's only in
Specifically
100%.
for men.
So-
Specifically for men.
I think that's actually super important. We actually probably get a bag off that. I don't know if you're familiar with the My Brother's Keeper. They got a whole grant. Obama gave the city money, and it supports content that supports young black men. So maybe there's the opportunity to get
We'll
some
have
funding
that
around that.
discussion.
Yeah,
All right, so that's something that we can
I'm
definitely
applying-
talk
You
about.
you can already
man.
tell. I'm always
Yeah, I'm a
yeah,
grant.
man.
I'm a grant
We-
lady, so we definitely talk about that.
1000%.
Yeah.
So you know what I mean. We appreciate you pulling up, man.
Can I just say a sincere thank you to all of you?
No doubt. Yes, sir.
To
Yes, sir.
Shaka, Goddess Kia, King Haas.
Yes, sir.
Because, this is a organic, authentic conversation. I could tell y'all are true hip hop heads. Y'all
Mm-hmm.
are truly for
Yeah,
the
they
culture.
hip-hops.
It's not posers. And,
I
think
appreciate that.
it really feels good. It feels like a home cooked meal because I think a lot of times so much of the industry is posing and the image. And this is just, the cameras could have been off. We would have had the same
conversation.
Right,
Facts.
right.
Maybe it would have been some soul food, but we would have,
Yeah, definitely.
we'd have broke it down. So I
Definitely.
just genuinely, I'm appreciative of the opportunity. I don't take anything for granted.
Appreciate that. This is your home always.
Right.
Yeah, definitely.
We
Yeah, man,
got
pull up
some
anytime,
high,
brother.
for you.
we got some high expectations for this platform, and that's
1000%.
going to blow your mind.
It's
And you're
going
like, wow,
to
that's dumb. It's
it's
going to be
be
hard to
get
come
bigger
on
and
and
better.
come here.
So
But this is who we are, and we're going to be this way.
Friend to the
from
room,
the
you know what I'm
beginning
saying?
to the highest of the heights, and so we're definitely authentic people, and
Appreciate
we
you.
have a passion for our people. We're revolutionists in here, so
Absolutely.
we definitely going to keep this
I'm a
going.
friend of the show.
we appreciate you, my boy.
You're
Absolutely.
You family now. You know what I'm
Right.
saying?
You
We gonna rock
family,
out,
B.
man. So without
Appreciate
further ado, man, we gonna go ahead and sign off.
This is our signature. We standing
10
10
toes down.
Let's get it. Let's work.
10 toes down.
I know what it
We
is. Yo,
did
we out,
that.
man.
Keep your
Yes,
hands
sir.
out my pocket.
Gra.
Yeah, man.
Oh.